Right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Digital Inclusion Week 2024. This is Wednesday, so we're on day 3. I want to welcome you all and thank you for choosing to spend time today exploring some fascinating topics dealing with digital inclusion and digital literacy. I am in Houston, Texas, and one of the first things I want to do is send our absolute and complete thoughts to our friends in Florida who are managing some difficult situations right now. And so definitely want to send those thoughts out to everyone who is being impacted. Today, we're going to explore tech savvy together, digital skills across the ages. I'm really excited about this particular session with you guys because I've often really spent most of the time looking at adult education, focusing, of course, as a provider and then looking at it on a citywide scale as I'm with the Mayor's Office for Adult Literacy here in Houston, and then state and national levels. So combining a traditional concept of adult literacy, adult digital literacy with the families is something that is very exciting for me today. So I hope you will enjoy this as well and definitely look forward to your feedback. What's in it for you today? Well, I'm hoping that you will walk away with more of an understanding of digital literacy, the digital divide as a family divide, and then intergenerational learning, and of course, perhaps take a resource or two with you to learn, to implement, and to grow your services with your clients, with your learners. Again, I'm Jacqueline Aguilera, Jackie Aguilera. I work with the Mayor's Office for Adult Literacy. I am the project manager. I also serve in Houston for several years as a provider liaison. Looking at the past almost 40 years of my career in adult education, about 14 or 15 have been specifically tailored, targeted, spotlighted, been part of my personal growth journey in digital literacy and ed tech. And these are just some of the projects that I've been involved with. If any of this looks interesting to you, feel free to get in touch with me at any time, and I'd be glad to talk more about it with you. However, you're not here just to know about me today. You're actually here to explore this idea of tech savvy across the ages. So the first step that I want to take in our journey together today is thinking about what is digital literacy. I am sure that many of our responses have changed since COVID. And it's real interesting to gauge and to get an idea of what this concept means because it really is an individual response. Now, one of the people that I get to work with in the city, or actually it's a duo, a dynamic duo of sisters who wrote this book called What I Learned About Life When My Husband Was Fired. And on this journey, they have gotten involved with education, training, workforce training, dealing with, of course, an initiative on financial education called Houston Money Week. And in all of that, we've been working together across the years, and they have always been very kind in thinking about how does this fit the education spectrum, and with our relationship specifically, the adult education spectrum. And they've come up with a series of what's called banter. And one of the topics in their banter involved technology. And this is where I think a lot of us have been. Many of us are transitioning through technology. Love it or hate it, but we need it. And that becomes the bottom line for us. Now, what I really like about this particular source is it's an open source. It is definitely a friend because it can open conversations, be a great icebreaker, and get people to start thinking about what a topic means. So as you start getting in your mind, we're getting warmed up, think about what exactly is digital literacy. Now, one thing you will notice within this particular session is there are a lot of QR codes. I really enjoy using them because I could not order any food during the pandemic without a QR code, and I had not used them until that challenge. So one of the things that I incorporate a lot of is working with QR codes to be more comfortable with them. They are a part of our everyday living now, and this is part of digital learning, digital literacy in the everyday world. Now, as I mentioned, this particular resource covering technology, love it or hate it, included in those banter bites are questions. They're called conversation starters. And this is, again, a spot where if we look at, how do we think about digital literacy? Well, one of the first things is this question: how would you describe digital literacy? So you've got a chat box, you guys, and thank you so much for introducing yourself, saying hello. We've got some people from Chicago, Oakland, Bryan, Texas, looking at LA. Oh my gosh. Longview, Texas, Washington, Virginia, Cleveland. Holy cow. So we've got a lot of different perspectives. Share in the chat box with each other right now. How would you describe digital literacy? How would you describe digital literacy? And this again is looking at these types of questions that you can begin the process of exploring what technology is, what it means to your students, your clients, and your colleagues. So if you would, please go ahead and share in the chat. And I'm going to take a peek. Skills and strategies, comfort with technology, being comfortable with technology, not just phones. Good point. Knowledge, skills to function in everyday life, especially the economy. We're going to touch on that briefly too. Excellent. Thank you, guys. There's no right or wrong in this answer to this question. In fact, again, what we're doing is trying to get an understanding of where we are at, what we share in our perspectives, and then what are the opportunities to grow. Now, in this particular resource, you can continue with the conversations. Well, the reason why I brought it up as well, not only as an example, a tool that you can use, but because a lot of this thinking is what we were working with in 2020 when we began to do research on adult literacy in Houston. And the feedback that we got from the stakeholders, the feedback that we got from the participants, formulated not only a snapshot of what was going on with adult ed, but more importantly, it helped us rebrand, really look at marketing adult education with that feedback to really understand it. And what we came up with the feedback, you're taking a look at two graphics there. And one of them is from the original feedback. And you'll notice that digital literacy is a part of three domains, with financial and health and functional in the center. Fast forward 4 years later, and in fact, it was this year, 24, 23 last year. We were reevaluating a lot of what had happened over the 3 years of the evolution of edtech skills, the integration of digital literacy into everything that we do in adult ed. And one of the things that I was looking at, I was preparing for a presentation, and this was a state presentation. And I said, our graph needs an update because it needs to reflect what has happened with our growth mindset in understanding where digital literacy fits in our post-COVID existence and service. And so what became of that thought process was a new graphic. And you'll notice in the revised graphic, the new one, digital literacy encompasses everything. The domains have been expanded to environmental literacy and into the main core of functional literacy. Why? Because technology is in everything that we do in every part of our lives, from the tools that we use to the everyday living, the types of demands that are on us now. I mean, everything from ordering food to seeing a doctor. It is definitely challenging. I have a question that I'm seeing: using technology to find, evaluate, organize, and communicate information. Thank you. And please keep answering in the chat. Is it possible to have the images? Yes, I will share my PowerPoint with you guys. I'll be glad to. And you'll find that a lot of the information that will be shared also comes from Houston's Adult Literacy Blueprint, and you guys will get a chance to scan that as well. So if we're processing here from what exactly this means, and a lot of you guys already have hit the head, the hammer, the nail on the head. All my analogies are running wild here. Using tech effectively and reasonably. I mean, when you break it down to simple, what is it? It's knowing how to use the technology effectively and reasonably. And what that has become, you guys, with digital literacy, and we're talking about across the ages, the whole generation that we have present with us, is understanding the nuances, all the particular, the details of the technology and the digital literacy itself. I have a comment. It seems daunting because people may feel they are misusing their time on the internet. Yes, absolutely. They get overwhelmed and distracted. Yes, yes, and yes, which is why the operative word there is effectively and reasonably. It is so easy to go down the rabbit hole and just keep going and going. And next thing you know, 2, 3 hours are gone and you still haven't found the information you wanted. So again, looking at targeting your reasons for using the tool that we call the technology, the internet, using our digital literacy skills. Involved in that is determining what is real and what is, truly factual versus false, things that have been brought up, developed, made to look really legitimate, and yet they aren't. Determining trustworthiness, understanding artificial intelligence and how, again, to use it. And this was shared on Monday, shared critically, ethically, and innovatively. The session on Monday, if you didn't get to see Monday's opening session, this was mentioned about artificial intelligence, these 3 words: using it critically, ethically, and innovatively. Digital resilience, not just quitting, actually critically thinking, actually analyzing and problem solving. And then, of course, being able to adapt. How many of you, and I can imagine, and I'm going to raise my hand right now because I had 2 devices this morning that were doing updates. And of course, I was, waiting and saying, okay, come on, hurry up. But yet having to wait. And then as soon as the updates come up, things look differently. So, as we do sometimes, we're not really going with the flow of change, and that can disrupt, add stress. But being able to breathe, calm down, and walk through those changes and adapt to the changing technology, adapt to the fact that your particular phone that you loved can no longer function to the things that you need it to do. In that case, you have to give the phone up. Being able to make adjustments, being able to find other sources, the tenacity to continue to problem solve, to locate, to evaluate. A lot of this should sound familiar, which is why digital literacy contextualizes those functional literacy skills. We do this in reading. We learn vocabulary, words, sentences, but then context, reading to understand, reading to apply, reading to develop higher levels and additional research. These are the things that we do called reading with a purpose. So this is the same process that we're using when we look at digital literacy. It's digital literacy with a purpose and using the tools to get the right outcomes. What has happened with COVID is what many were talking about for years, that we needed distance learning as a regular part of the curriculum. This was not a luxury option. It should actually be integrated as it was, elevating the digital skills. Digital literacy was not, still just a separate computer class. And so we were having these conversations before 2020. However, COVID pushed everybody straight into the virtual swimming pool, whether or not you knew how to swim, dog paddle, had a lifesaver, or if there was a lifeguard around, it didn't matter. Everybody had to sink or swim, as they say. And it was a struggle. And what happened was when we had the proverbial divide, we also had this huge divide that leaked into families, families that were not sure how to adapt. Did they have the resources? Did they have the connectivity? Were they necessarily able to even understand and know enough information in order to get acclimated to what was being asked of them? And for many people, the answer was no. They were not ready. And it was not an indication of intelligence or education or anything of that nature, but simply the fact of that was not our main purpose, our skill set, our current ability to help our children to adapt quickly. It was new. Many did not even have the devices or the tools. That's what we lived through. And that digital divide created an even larger family divide. When children could not depend on their parents to help them connect for schoolwork, to even understand. We were struggling before. Now we're struggling at an even higher level. These are some stats, and again, this came out of looking at, someone's coming in for me. Yes, ma'am. Flip it up. Yes, ma'am.
I'll message you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't know you was.
No problem.
I'll message you. I just want to see your face.
That's okay. The personal touch. We miss each other, and this is the connectivity that happens with the human factor. I'll get to that shortly. Thank you for your patience. Amazing how we say we can't change until we, exactly. Many people wanted to change it, they couldn't. And that created more of a division between families, divisions between the entities that are supposed to support families, access to basic skills, basic health care, division. Of equal note is the growing division of access to living wage skills. Here's this stat: more than 8 in 10 middle school jobs require digital skills. The NTIA and as well as India have all said that it's now almost 97% of jobs, like not in 20 years, 50 years, in the next few years, we'll be living it, are going to demand higher level digital skills. So how do we address the divide? This is Digital Inclusion Week. How do we remain inclusive? Well, one of the things that we need to look at is statistics that we've had already. For literacy rates, we have the statistic that shows the main influencer are going to include any type of parental person in the household. That can be a parent or a guardian, mainly the mother. So we can still provide skills in the school system, but we must also support the homes, and we need to support the parents. This is where it makes sense that we come together and become tech savvy across the ages, intergenerationally. We must start looking at how to include in our definition of family literacy, this idea of family digital literacy and family learning. Based on the feedback that we got, and this again is from the blueprint, the Houston Adult Literacy Blueprint. These were some of the responses when we asked, how are you going to support your family? And they use the different functional skills and the domains to identify what would be needed to accomplish things to take care of their family. Well, helping a child with homework, the the functional skills of literacy, and then digital literacy. And you can see in these components that in our feedback, we have 6 different columns. 4 of those 6, they identified through the feedback as digital literacy was involved. Now, we know based on 4 more years of experience coming out of the pandemic that balancing a budget, yeah, that's going to be technology. Communicating with doctors, most definitely. So again, technology is integrating every aspect of our lives. So if we are going to do something about the digital divide, actually do something about digital inclusion and help close the family divide, we need to look at some of the things that really impact families: education, economics, health, and well-being. And digital literacy impacts every one of those areas. Parents' lack of digital skills hinder their children's digital skills and development. Same as reading. We look at the economic. If 41% of adults without a high school diploma were not considered digitally literate, and you compare that with only 5% with college degrees. So again, access, experience, knowledge relating to equitable issues, equitable access, equitable resources are so important to look at when we're starting to create this intergenerational digital literacy experience. The gap affects students. We found that out. If you don't have reliable connectivity, if you don't have devices that can handle the type of software, the type of programs that are available online, and even if you have them in your home and you have no clue how to use them to help your children, to help yourself, to learn, to apply for jobs, if you don't know, it doesn't matter if you have that technology and that connectivity or not. The key is in the knowledge. Same with health and well-being. Healthcare now, you have My Chart. Everyone says, oh, look at your My Chart. It will appear in your My Chart. And, again, or that is assuming that I know My Chart, I can get the app, I know what to do with it, and I understand all of the jargon, the maneuverability required, everything that is within that particular system. It assumes that I understand. And if I don't, I get left out. And there it is, we're increasing the gap. And importantly, I get left out of good healthcare and healthcare choices, possibly for my children and those that I'm taking care of. Being able to take care of the family gets impaired the wider that gap is. So, in our exploration of becoming tech savvy across the ages, we need to look at that component of intergenerational digital literacy. Opportunities for parent, child, guardians can have learning together, to have learning experiences together, to be able to explore, critically think, problem solve, and come out with solutions together. So one of the things that we have been learning in our research here at the office is in working with digital inclusion and digital equity, we have created programs like Bridge Digital Academy, which help people start establishing in their community-based organizations their digital literacy programs, their digital literacy curriculum, and starting that integration process. But then we went into American Recovery Programs Act funding, and that allowed us to open up a series of digital equity labs around the city. Within those labs, we were looking at not only replicating what was already being done, because, it's already being done. Our Houston Public Library and many libraries across the nation have bookmobiles. They have mobile labs. They're around the city providing services to the public, to schools. They're doing that. Our office serves the people who serve the people. We support the community-based organizations. One of my responsibilities with the office is develop training, identify training needs, to work as that provider liaison, to understand what the community is looking for, what the learners are looking for, and how our office can support those endeavors. What came out of that was a wonderful introduction to the training system called Z-Space, and that was through the IT people at Houston Public Library. Because one of the things that I said that we needed to do was not provide current digital literacy, but to actually become involved with what was evolving. Our industry, our economy, is using automation, robotics, AI, virtual reality, and the rewards, the economic rewards, those have strong ability to break cycles of poverty. And in order for us to prepare our learners for that, we need to have the type of educational experiences and tools that will help them start experiencing that type of skill. Enter Z-Space. What we looked at was a virtual reality component that would help develop a different level of skills once those basic computer skills, basic digital literacy skills had been achieved. So we have put into our digital equity labs Z-Space training units that now some of the providers are looking at their out of school programs to integrate with. They have tutoring programs that they help with youth, 16 to 24, our opportunity youth, integrating learning so that individuals that are there can bring in their children, they can experience a higher level interaction with digital literacy that is taking themselves and their children to a whole other level of experience with training skills, with understanding what the aspects of a 3D environment involve, looking at different parts of machinery, again, automation, healthcare, robotics. Cynthia, I see that you have your hand raised. And I'm looking at questions. Is the test of digital literacy or savviness how quickly you can troubleshoot any software or tech issues? The most efficient or the most comfortable and at ease? You know, it can be, but it can also be that you're just familiar with that particular system. And so you get lucky. Sometimes it's trial and error. The really part of this is persistence and the ability to problem solve and the ability to have those individuals available to help. Troubleshooting becomes a part of digital literacy. Many times agencies, services like the Geek Squad get called out, and the problem is the connection's not complete. A wire got moved. So again, this is all part of a digital awareness, digital knowledge, and being able to solve those issues. Z-Space is actually a training system. It does involve licensing and it does involve some modules that are put together. It's something that we were able to explore because of the funding that we were given. And so we're taking this now to community-based organizations and to learners, to families who really would never be able to access this without a funded entity bringing it to the community. And that's what makes this very exciting. Cynthia, I know your hand is up. Are you able to unmute? And if not, do you mind putting your question in the chat? And while I wait for that, you guys, the wrap up on this part of the session is that digital literacy is not just being about online, which goes to that question about savviness and troubleshooting. It's about understanding technology and its uses. And when we're talking about across the ages, understanding which of us know more or have some more experience and how we can share it. As instructors, we can definitely help foster that type of environment. We can start fostering the skills in our learners to be able to help and work with their children. Just like we did the parent-child literacy types of events and programs and lessons, so you can too do that with digital literacy. Now, I used Copilot, which I nicknamed Coco. You'll see Coco here. And I went to Coco and I just put in this prompt. And I said, give me a short outline for a class that teaches adults in adult education programs how to teach their children and include parent-child activities. And it gave me one. Well, of course, I didn't just want parent-child. So what I did was I asked it to include digital literacy skills building, that this was specifically for parent-child digital literacy development. And so the following is a lesson plan, an outline of parent-child digital literacy learning. And Cynthia, I've got you. I see your hand. If you can put your question in the chat, maybe I can get to you. I don't want to leave you out there. All right, so on week 1, Coco said make an introduction to digital literacy and teaching at home. And it gives us the objectives. And what I like about this is it starts turning the home into a learning environment. I think that's one of the goals that we have often tried to achieve in adult education and working with literacy, adult literacy, traditional literacy, is helping to create home environments that support the learning process. We have a lot of the little libraries. People have created those nice little book resources outside their homes, outside of businesses. We have a lot of different companies. We have a lot of organizations that support books in the home. And this is the same way we start looking at technology as what is available. What can we start promoting so that the home becomes a digital learning environment? And one of the things that they suggested here is creating a learning schedule using a calendar app. We usually have calendars at home. Let's use Google Calendar. Let's use a calendar on our phones to share, set up a family learning calendar. And on these days and at these times, we are going to sit down and do these activities together. Another thing, and this goes into week 2, creating a positive digital learning environment. And again, we're giving this information to our learners so that they can not only develop it for themselves, but again, in the home. And this is going to promote that cross intergenerational learning aspects, that we do this together. We don't do it separately. And really looking at what is going to help that particular family and what they need. So again, customization. What works in one family's home is not going to work in another family's home. So again, getting to know them, asking those questions. What is digital literacy? What does a digital literacy study area look like to you? What could it be? Could it be around the kitchen table? Could it be in the living room? If you have a device, if you have a laptop at home, where could we set that up? If you have a desktop, or if you just have phones, then where could we use our phones? The weather here is looking nice, and we had our first kind of cool front here in Houston. So one of the options would be, to sit at the patio in the evenings, and maybe we can start doing some things together over phones, and something, real simple. Doesn't have to be very complicated. One of the things that I learned from Dr. Glenda Rose was that speaking about digital literacy, discussing it, is digital literacy. We don't have to make it so complex. So even discussing, looking at what would you do? What do you do? When you go to the store, what are those, those little discounts that you get? Well, the store has an app, and if you scan it, you can save money. Wow, that's a cool thing. And so as a parent, they might not be too sure about it. As a child or as a youth that kind of feels more comfortable, they can help their parent, or the parent helps the child find something really cool to help them save money. There's so many different ways that you take the practical, the real, and just infuse that digital element. And we as teachers, as instructors, we are becoming more and more digital coaches. And that is one of the things that I have been looking at and really spending a lot of time on is our siloed instruction, that I am an English instructor or a GED, ABE, financial advisor, coach, whatever it may be, health instructor. We all really are digital coaches who are specializing in certain areas, because digital integration is no longer just a choice. So, for example, here in week 3, it's looking at the role of online interactions. Every day, what happens? Do I answer a call? Do I answer a text? How do I do that? There are all kinds of ways. There's that etiquette, that manner of how you communicate, the words that you use, the things that you use to communicate that become so important that if you don't know, your comfortable texting environment might not exactly be the environment that you want to use that same texting language in for getting a job or for applying for an office or trying to order something. A lot of times, again, that shortened text messaging language is great under certain circumstances, but again, it doesn't go across all languages, and you don't use the same language for every situation. Role playing, pretending together, doing mock phone calls, mock interviews, texting, ordering. These are the types of things that families do every day that they can practice together and learn with each other. One of the things that I like included on here is reading an ebook together. Actually being able to utilize the technology and to learn with each other, and to have those conversations about literacy, but contextualized in a digital format. The next thing that they talk about here that Coco suggested was supporting homework and study habits with technology, engaging them, showing them how to use the tools, asking each other questions about those tools, showing each other the new things that you've learned. This one says a parent-child activity, create a digital homework list using a task management app. And again, Google has a lot of great products. There is a learning curve, one that, again, as instructors, as digital coaches in our adult ed field, we can become familiar with ourselves, and then, of course, bring that into the classroom. We can walk through it with our students and learn together, just like we're modeling, other aspects of literacy. we should also model this parent learning activity in a teacher, a digital coach, and our learners. And so we model for them what we are helping them to learn to do with their children. Of course, they incorporate more about the digital books, going to the library, utilize your public libraries, you guys. Those library cards are not just for hard printed copies anymore. Those get you into a whole other level, a whole digital world of resources that are available through your local library card. Of course, understanding, and again, we mentioned understanding and fact checking, knowing what are reliable resources, the types of resources that may be questionable or may not exactly be, the best resource, even though it's all over the internet. Where did it come from? And understanding how to interpret those things. Of course, math and science using digital tools, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite sites when I was working with GED students. And it was fun, and they actually, yes, they played it with their kids because it was simple and not complicated. And I'll show that to you guys. So here, incorporating math and science again, and you can imagine if your learners in your GED class and they're studying math and science, and then their kids are having math and science, or even history or writing. Again, they can do what they're doing in their regular instruction and their regular studies, but you're helping them integrate it with the digital, and that creates the intergenerational learning and intergenerational digital literacy. Of course, for safety, going in, setting up parental controls, that's an important aspect, and be able to manage those types of protections and protocols. We don't want anyone's information stolen. We need to learn that, yeah, that's a great game or that's a great app. It's fun, but wow, look at all the ads. And what happens if I click on an ad? And what happens if I'm here and am I being watched? Do I have little web crawlers? Are they trying to get more information? Why is it that we were looking at a cooking app and now all of a sudden I'm getting all these ads for recipes and what's happening? So again, all this is everyday digital literacy. It's stuff we encounter every day. And this is part of creating an intergenerational process. What showed up on your phone today? Oh, well, wow, I saw this. Man, don't touch that. Or that's really neat. If you have been stalked online by Temu, let me tell you, sometimes it's really hard to ignore. But again, you have to think, what's going to happen when I open that virtual door? And these, again, are part of those learning processes. On week 8 to this plan, they're talking about reviewing and celebrating. And again, celebrating in your classroom, but celebrating at home. My goodness, can you imagine a family that started out, yeah, we have this stuff. We really don't know how to use it. We really don't understand. My kids are doing one thing. I'm doing another thing. Imagine at the end of that time period, the families are celebrating together because they shared a digital literacy experience and exploration together. They grew, they expanded their skills, and they collaborated and really had a team experience in learning and creating digital literacy skills that are meaningful to them as individuals and in their lives and in their education and will be in their careers. So this is definitely something worth celebrating. And again, that parent-child engagement, that intergenerational feel. Now, if there are no other devices except phones, here are some suggestions on those. Videos, creating a family movie. You can create a personal picture dictionary. This is one of my favorite things to do with my English language learners, is for them to take pictures of everyday objects in their home, at their work, and then we develop vocabulary, we develop sentences, and they had something personal, meaningful for them. And yes, you will get access to this PowerPoint. There's a lot of goodies here. I'm glad you're asking. That tells me this is good stuff. All right. Um, virtual vacations. If you can't afford to go on a vacation, we can go on a virtual one. We've said this about books. Books open the world. The internet, when we know how to use it and use it well, and we know how to share it with our families, it can open up the world. It can help us prepare for the vacations we want to have. It can help us explore, make decisions together, make knowledgeable decisions, not on what we think Disneyland is going to be like, but after we went online, we did some research, we looked at some videos, like, oh wow, okay, this is what I like, or, I really don't like Disneyland after all. I think I want to go to Universal Studios. All this collaboration, this family togetherness, that is what we're promoting and increasing the educational and the technical skills at the same time. One of my favorites on here is creating a family music playlist. And then as a bonus, having a karaoke night, which could be a lot of fun, but maybe not so fun for the neighbors. So, ebooks, audiobook sharing, again, working together. One of the simplest activities that you can do with a class, every day. What are we going to eat? What's for dinner? Are you hungry? What do you want? Well, hey, let's explore some options on what to eat. Let's do this together. I asked Coco to put together a little lesson for a digital recipe hunt. QR codes here, you can scan it. This is kind of a summary of that. The actual lesson has more steps in it. But it takes you from choosing something that you think you might like to eat, actually doing some research, including digital literacy to find the different types of ingredients and things. And of course, at the end, you get to eat what you experimented with. I mean, how good is that? In doing something as simple as an everyday room, a bedroom, a living room, even the bathroom, the patio, a kitchen, there are digital literacy opportunities. If you look at your microwave has a keypad. If you look at the different sites to order food, you turn on the TV. If you're accessing YouTube, if you have a smart TV, that's a whole digital literacy lesson all to itself. But look around, there are things in a home that create a digital literacy learning lab, and you can actually use what already exists. There are AE programs where you can photograph what is in your refrigerator and create recipes. I love that. Thank you so much. That's a great activity. What's in your fridge? Let's create a recipe. Oh my gosh. A lot of what we worry about is, income and economics, and we're like, wow, technology costs so much. How am I going to do that? It doesn't have to be so complicated. We can work with what our families, what our learners have right in their homes already. And in this list here are more suggestions, books and magazines about literacy. Remember, digital literacy can be discussing it, exploring it, offline software, toys, digital toys, digital storytelling, basic computer skills, community resources, your libraries. There are all types of technology opportunities that are in different devices that we have access to that don't cost a lot of money. Now, there are online sites, you guys, online sites that I'd like to share with you. And one of them is GCF Global. And this is put together through Goodwill Industries. And they have a huge, huge menu of digital literacy lessons and in different topic areas, ranging from actual digital literacy to reading, English language learning. They have an exploration on financial literacy. There are a number of topics here. This is a great resource. If you haven't heard of it, go. And again, it's budget friendly. Doesn't cost anything extra except, your current access and your tools that you're using to access the site. The other one that I highly suggest, again, budget friendly, is Khan Academy. Khan Academy is highly useful. And again, if you take your learners to these sites and teach them how to use it, not only to learn for themselves, but to engage with their children, with the young humans that they're responsible for. Ask them to find out what are their young humans learning and to bring that into the classroom with you. And you can help them explore, find resources so that when they go home, they can go, guess what, Susie? Guess what, Johnny? I can help you with your algebra today. Susie and Johnny are like, when did you learn algebra? Well, let me tell you, I use this little thing called Khan Academy. And we're going to sit down and we're going to go through these lessons because it also explains the process. And it's something that can be so exciting, bringing those entities, a parent, a guardian, and the young humans in their charge together to understand that they are both working towards a common goal. And this is probably, the foundation for intergenerational literacy is coming together in a common goal to elevate the family. And here we contextualize it with digital. Now, I've gotten to one of my favorite budget-friendly items when I started teaching GED and adult basic ed, and we got to math and order of operations. This little game is called Royal Rescue, and you have to solve the order of operation problems to go step by step, depending on which character you choose, to rescue your family members who have been locked away. And you have to get the math problems right to set them free. We've had so much fun in the classroom with this. And then I had parents turn around and use it with their kids, and they had a blast laughing at each other, figuring it out like, oh no, I forgot if it's in parentheses, I have to do that first. But it really made something like the order of operations, which most people, including myself, were not too thrilled about, turn it into something exciting. These types of tools help me, a humanities major, actually become and embrace more of a math centered advocate to actually promote how STEM and STEAM, the arts, it's a STEAM effort, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And you can too use these types of things. And especially if you're uncomfortable with things like, getting into higher level math and things. Again, think of it as a parent. And again, going back to what we learned from the pandemic, we didn't know everything. Guess what? You don't have to know everything. That's why the technology is here. That's why if we can help our parents understand, they don't have to know everything. But if we help them understand the skills, the tools, the resources, and how to use them to help their children, then they can learn and grow together and they could feel good about themselves. Because a lot of times it can be intimidating when you're looking at your child, when you're looking at your little human that you're responsible for, and you are feeling solutionless. And that is a really harsh feeling, you guys. So if you can help intergenerational, empower, not only for the self, but for the family, then we will be making some extremely important impact for the health and welfare of the generations that exist and the ones that are to come. Now, what you're seeing here is financial football. It is football season, you guys, and this is financial football. You choose a team, you line up, and then you play a game of football. But the way you move down the field, the way you get your touchdowns and your field goals is by answering the financial education questions correctly. This is a blast too. It looks just like a video game. The football players are up, that your teams are going against each other. And again, it's a great way to explore topics. If you sit down and say, let's sit down and talk about budgeting this month. Oh, and everyone's like, no, I don't even know what that is. All I want to know is, is there milk in the fridge? But here it is, taking the concept of games, and really that is a way to create this fun aspect of something that could be seen as intimidating or boring, or lacking in an interest area. People learn more when they have fun. I'm hoping you guys are having fun and you're learning. But I'll check into that shortly. The intergenerational learning games, there are things you can also do with different sites. Like this is Wonderopolis. They have a really cool section called, it's all about wondering. I wonder if we can see the Great Wall of China from space, really. Does technology change lives? And one of the things they have there is a video about this new technology that was developed that enabled this young lady to communicate and speak, to be able to engage and have a full life with her family, with friends, in the public, in the community, because of technology and how it changed and improved this family's and this individual young lady's life, and what a difference it made in their family's quality of life. One of the main questions that you can always go to when you're integrating and looking at tech across the ages and pulling things together is, how does technology change life? How did technology impact and change your life today? What did you use today? What are the things that have impacted you? Do you just wake up naturally anymore, or are you dependent on the snoozes and the alarms and the sub alarms, and then the music that comes on, and then programming Alexa to play chirping birds? All of these things are part of our world. It used to sound like make believe. It used to sound like fantasy, or just some luxury life for people with large bank accounts, but it's not. It's actually part of our everyday lives now. And this is really how we look at this integration concept of creating intergenerational digital literacy and becoming more aware and more resourceful with our investment in adult education for the future of our communities. So we asked in the beginning, what is digital literacy? Got you thinking about that. And the next thing now that I'd like you to kind of provide feedback on is, so what does it mean to be tech savvy across the ages? What is your takeaway today? What is your takeaway with tech savvy across the ages? And I'll take a look at the chat. Thank you. Starlin says, I will try to be more proactive instead of just helping out when a family member is experiencing tech frustration. And that's a real good point. It's a teachable moment. And definitely taking advantage of that to interact, because they're going to come back and ask you again, to be able to use the technology at home and in the classroom. Great. Having fun learning ways to use technology together as a family. Fabulous. And a lot of this, you guys, is just, it's in the exploration. It's in opportunities like this that we get to share and discuss. So a lot of things we might have thought about, but went, oh yeah, I was thinking about that, or I forgot about that. As a counselor, this was very helpful. Awesome, I'm glad. Learning together models risk-taking and resilience. I love it. You are left behind if you are not tech savvy. Well, I like that. We should put that on a little banner, right? You're welcome. I'm so glad that you enjoyed this. I'm glad you enjoyed the information. I will definitely make this available to you. This is my LinkedIn QR code. Make sure you connect with me, and I'll be glad to share out and help you. Good luck in integrating, and stay tech savvy. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you for everybody for joining today. Have a wonderful day.